Hello again, welcome to Herd Immunity News. Today, during Prime Minister's questions, Conservative MP for Rayleigh and Wickford, Mark Francois, took to his feet and he warned the Prime Minister the dangers that Neville Chamberlain had committed and the crimes that he had committed while he was Prime Minister of the Second World War. He warned of appeasement and to Mr Sunak not to make the same mistakes. He also spoke of the impending conflict that the UK will have with the Russians. Francois is another one of these Tobias Ellwood, Liz Truss, Ian Duncan Smith warmongers. That's the only word for them. Out and out warmongers. Boris, of course, put the kibosh on any potential peace plans between Russia and Ukraine back in April 2022 when he went over and destroyed any potential deals that we would have. Right now in Ukraine, there's something between the 450,000 and 500,000 dead men lying in battlefield, and the characters like Mark Francois are warning of the 50 million casualties that we saw in the Second World War. But what he has conveniently forgotten is that 27 million of those dead were Russian troops fighting the Nazis during World War II. Now we have a proposition where the NATO American forces are on the brink of potentially having a nuclear conflict, World War III. The World War III death toll would dwarf completely the 50 million people that died during the Second World War. We're talking billions of people dead here, 2 to 3 to 4 billion. Who actually knows what the death toll will be? But trying to disseminate between Neville Chamberlain, who in 1938 had a UK armed forces of 384,000, to today, under Rishi Sunak, the placed World Economic Forum Prime Minister, we're sitting around 75,000 army personnel ready to go and fight. And that's with a population of almost 70 million, whereas back in 1938, we only had a population of 41 million before the war kicked off in 1939. The comparisons that were made actually were seen, and Francois is really very stupid or very naive to discount the death toll that the Russians had during the Second World War. And without them, Hitler would have pushed on to these shores and conquered us. Quite simply, that's what would have happened. The depth of quality that the Conservatives have is absolutely shocking, as it is with Labour SNP, Liberal Democrats, and the one Green and Caroline Lucas. To forget these type of basics is pretty disgusting. But what was even more disgusting is when Mark Francois, the Essex MP for the Conservatives, went on to say and congratulate the Prime Minister for not being like Neville Chamberlain. And Sunak responded by a lovely smile and a look up to Mr Francois and said that we pride ourselves in supporting our allies, that's Israel and Ukraine. So the death and destruction and genocide that's going on means nothing to these people. Absolutely nothing. And for Sunak to turn around at the end of their engagement together and look at Francois and say that we're keeping the UK safe is absolutely disgusting. We have a situation under Sunak where we're looking at 1.2 million people coming into the UK every single year. The legal and illegal strategies are for open borders under this Sunak regime. The same can be said of Starmer when the other side of the uni party coin takes power and takes office. To claim that we are safe now under Sunak is an absolute disgrace and an abomination. We'll continue to look and observe at people like Mark Francois that try to set themselves apart as conservative, patriotic, and Brexiteers. We hope to bring you all this information as it happens in light of some censorship that has happened on YouTube in relation to comments that we've made recently, even on the Ukraine war and on net zero. These videos are being taken down. Formerly, of course, it was the vaccines and the damage and death that they're causing. But now it's even on questioning the war in Ukraine. If you're opposed to it, you want to end it, you're now someone who is a Putin apologist rather than looking for a peaceful solution. Even if you don't give a damn about Russia or Ukrainians and their death, which you really should, morally, you should care about collateral damage, what this inflicts on the rest of the West, the United Kingdom, the United States. The narrative is being used continually now that the COVID is drifting away and in the rearview mirror for a lot of these people. The war in Ukraine and the situation in Israel with the blockades in the Red Sea are all being used to fleece the British and American publics. More and more and more. They're using it in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand as well. They see Vladimir Putin as Adolf Hitler. They forget that the Russians lost 27 million people fighting against the Nazi regime. The Nazi regime that had a massive influence and help and support regiment from the SS Waffen in Ukraine. It was only last year that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, with his number 2, Christian Freeland, welcomed an SS Waffen Nazi into their parliament and gave him a standing ovation. Of course, later they denied all knowledge of who this man actually was. If you believe this, then you're dumb, you're naive, or you support the Nazi movement yourself. Thank you for watching this update from Herd Immunity News. Chat soon.